Are you responsible for feeding an aging parent or a grandparent? So am I. And I've created a weekly routine that's a total game changer for me and my family. If you want to learn a realistic weekly routine that allows you to get a variety of healthy and delicious food on your table all week long, you're in the right spot. I'm able to feed my partner's 84-year-old mom, Lola, the soft and low sodium food that she requires, and the rest of the family, so everyone's happy. And I'm gonna share it with you. In this video, I'll show you how I prep for the week and how I use those prepped ingredients to make a variety of delicious meals all week long. This is not your typical meal prep where you eat the same meal day after day. That does not work for us. We're food brats. We prefer a variety of food around here. So the way that I meal prep is more of a restaurant style of prepping. I focus on prepping ingredients rather than full meals. That way I can mix and match the ingredients and I can quickly and easily create a variety of meals. When it comes to our food, we have a few goals. I want us to love our food. I need our meals to work for Lola, who needs soft and low sodium food, and the rest of the family who doesn't. And I want to make things mostly healthy. Healthy can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. We basically loosely follow more of a blue zone Mediterranean style diet. Healthy to us means lots of veggies, fruits, whole grains, nuts, beans. We still include some meat, seafood, eggs, and dairy every week, but we focus more on a plant-heavy diet. I also like to include ingredients that are believed to be good for your brain health since Lola has dementia. We also keep the 80-20 rule in mind. 80% of the time, we try to eat very healthy, nutrient-dense, clean food. The other 20% of the time, we splurge a little. It's just a balance that works for us. Let's talk about low sodium. Lola is on a doctor-recommended low sodium diet for her health. Low sodium, not no sodium, which means about 1,500 milligrams of sodium a day for her. That's about what we're aiming for. And a quick little disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm simply showing you how I cook for my family, what works for us, what works for our dietary restrictions, so please adjust as needed. Your loved one might need softer food, different levels of fat, sodium, cholesterol, sugar. Please adjust so it works for you. We eat almost every single meal at home. Between Lola's dietary restrictions and just the cost of food these days, it just makes sense. It's healthier, it's cheaper. But we don't want to get bored, so what I do is I really mix up our cuisine. Lola is Filipino, so I keep that in mind as I'm cooking. I use ingredients that she really loves, but she and the rest of the family just really appreciate cuisine from around the world. So I try to mix it up to keep our lives more exciting. This week, I went to the Asian market and to Wegmans, so let me show you what I prepped. I always start off by prepping garlic and onion. I use a lot of it, so if you just chop it all at once, it saves you a lot of time. And then if I have extra, I just freeze it. And then in the future when I'm cooking, if I need a piece, I just break it off and cook with it. Seniors can have issues with garlic and onion, so always check with your loved ones before using. Lola loves garlic and onion and it works for her, so we cook with a lot of it because it's a great way to build flavor, especially when you're not using a lot of sodium. Next, I pressed some tofu. I wasn't sure if I was going to cook with it today, but I wanted to press it in case I got to it. Pressing your tofu gets rid of the liquid, which makes the texture better and allows it to absorb flavor more. I have a tofu press because we cook with a lot of tofu, but you can just press it under something heavy like a skillet or a book, and press for at least 20 minutes. Next up, chicken soup. During my prep, I figure out what's going to take the longest and I do that first. In this case, it's going to be the Filipino-inspired chicken soup because I'm going to cook it in a crock pot for about 4 hours. Begin by washing, peeling, and chopping your potatoes. Wash, peel, and chop your carrots. Wash and cut your celery. To give the soup a bit of a Filipino-inspired flavor, I'm using lemongrass. You want to peel off the rough outer layers, chop off the ends, and then you want to break it up by pounding it with a knife or a meat pounder. This is going to help it release more flavor. And then I chop it into small pieces so it fits better in the crock pot. I add dried mushrooms, bay leaf, onion, garlic, ginger, paprika, some low-sodium soy sauce and fish sauce. And then to give lots of flavor without sodium, I use this no-sodium chicken seasoning. There's lots of options for low-salt seasoning out there, so swap out your favorite. Next, I add low-sodium chicken broth. Of course, homemade is better, but we went with store-bought today. Mix until evenly combined. Now you're going to add your chicken. I went with a whole chicken, bone in, and I cut off the skin and the fat before adding. Cover and cook. I went with 4 hours on high, but you can always go on low for 8 or 10 hours. Once the chicken is cooked through, just remove it and take all of the chicken off the bones. I personally save my bones and freeze them, that way I can make stock out of it later. Remove the lemongrass and bay leaves. Test your vegetables to make sure that they're soft enough for your elder loved ones. If they need more time to get soft, just give them more time. And then I chopped up the chicken nice and small so it's very easy for Lola to chew. And then add it back into the soup. If you want your soup to be a bit more brothy, feel free to add some water or some more low-sodium broth to it. And this crock pot makes about 12 servings of soup. When serving the soup, feel free to bring up the sodium at the end if you'd like. You can also add chili oil to it, a little bit more fish sauce or soy sauce if you want more salt. Whatever floats your boat. Next up, I make the Thai-inspired butternut squash coconut soup with shrimp. I start by roasting the butternut squash. Since we already have Lola's vegetables in the oven, I toss these in the oven to cook at the same time. Just drizzle with olive oil, toss, and place in the oven. They also take about 45 to 55 minutes to cook. Now I start working on the shrimp stock. I buy shrimp with shells on, and then I'm going to peel it off and make stock out of it. If you can find the shrimp that has the head on, that's even better, but this is what was available. In a large pot, heat some olive oil over medium-low heat. Then add the shells and sauté for about 3 minutes. Stir frequently. Add your water, bring to a boil, and then down to a simmer for about 15 minutes. Then I prepare my lemongrass for the soup. I just take off the outer layer, cut off the ends, and then smash it a bit with a knife. If you have one of those meat cleavers, that works even better. This allows the lemongrass to release more flavor. And then I cut it into smaller pieces so it fits in the pot better. After 15 minutes, I drain my stock. And then you can just throw out the shells. Next up are chickpeas. Chickpeas, beans, legumes, lentils, they are all fantastic for your health. So I try to serve them pretty much every single day. And they're also an incredibly cheap source of protein. You can of course buy them canned, but I prefer to make them from scratch. And if you use a pressure cooker, it's very little effort. Just soak your chickpeas overnight, drain and rinse. Put them in a pressure cooker with bay leaf, garlic, and water. To make mine nice and soft for Lola, I pressure cook them on high for 12 minutes and then let it naturally release for 10 minutes. Lola needs her vegetables nice and soft so she can chew them easily, but the rest of the family does not appreciate soft vegetables, so I always make ours separate. Sometimes I'll roast them, but this week I'm just going to sauté them on the stove top. So I chop up a nice variety of vegetables. I heat up a skillet over medium heat, toss in some olive oil, and then the veggies. I season with a bit of salt and then just sauté them for a couple of minutes. I like to make my veggies slightly underdone because I will be reheating them throughout the week, and that way they don't get too overcooked. Every week I like to make something fresh with a lot of flavor in it. Often it's pickled, sometimes with a lot of citrus. This week I decided to make a green papaya and mango salad. It was bold in flavor, nice and fresh, and everybody loved it. Start by slicing your papaya nice and thin, and then you can cut it into thinner strips if you'd like. Next, I cut up my fresh mango. I got the mango that was already peeled and chopped to make my life a bit easier. And then I sliced some small tomatoes in half. Cut up part of a red onion and make sure the slices are nice and thin. And then I chopped up some Thai basil and cilantro. If you're worried about these pieces being too big for your elder loved one, you can just put them through a blender. I just picked around them when serving her salad. And then I sliced up some scallions. Now add lime juice, fish sauce, brown sugar, some garlic, grated ginger. Yes, the fish sauce does have a good amount of sodium in it, but this salad does serve about 8. So it was about 200 milligrams of sodium per serving, but feel free to drop down the fish sauce if desired. Mix and it's good to go. The last thing that I'm prepping tonight is this peanut and coconut crunch. I make some sort of version of this every week. It's typically toasted nuts or seeds with a little bit of seasoning. This is just a very easy way to add texture to meals. This week's version is just peanuts, coconut, dashi powder, and a little bit of sugar. Lola eats the same breakfast pretty much every single morning. She made it up herself and she calls it her casserole. This actually has nothing to do with what we prepped, but I did want to mention it since it's a great breakfast for a senior. I start things off by poaching an egg. And I add a serving of steel-cut oats to a bowl. I cook these in advance in a rice cooker every couple of days. I add some oat milk and then just heat that up in the microwave. Then I add the poached egg, some yogurt, and some fruit. I would personally leave the egg on the side, but Lola likes everything mixed together. Although Lola insists on the same breakfast every single morning, the rest of the family wants something different. We like variety. So here's what we ate. I begin by slicing up a shallot. Then I take out the tofu I've been pressing and I cut it up into cubes. I heat a skillet over medium heat and then I add olive oil and the shallots, as well as the tofu. I add some raw cashews. I add garlic, sake, low sodium soy sauce, mirin, and rice wine vinegar. I let that cook for a couple of minutes and then I add some fresh baby spinach. And I finish it off with some toasted sesame oil and some Thai basil. I serve it over some quinoa and I top it off with some chili oil and scallions and the peanut coconut crunch. This breakfast really hit the spot and we had a lot of leftover, which was great. Tonight for dinner, we were a little bit behind, so I didn't record me making it, but let me tell you what I made. I did a build-your-own quinoa and shrimp lettuce cup. I used Bib lettuce, quinoa, the mango and papaya salad. I made a really quick peanut sauce. I chopped up the shrimp and chickpeas and added the peanut sauce to it. And then I set out the peanut and coconut crunch and the sliced scallions. This was a fun little build-your-own lettuce cup situation, kind of like a taco night, and it made everybody happy. Of course, this was not soft enough for Lola, so I made her something separate. I blended the peanut sauce that I made with the butternut squash coconut soup. She also got quinoa, shrimp, chickpeas, and then her roasted vegetables. So she was able to have a dinner with similar ingredients, but just Lola friendly.
J'aime le matin, c'est si frais ma maman. Elle est la meilleure des gâteaux. On va cuisiner une journée mère-fille. Quelle douceur, quelle douceur. Dans la cuisine, on est ensemble, les ingrédients, on les mélange. Farine ou œuf, sucre, on assemble. Petite pâtisserie qui nous enflamme. Petite pâtisserie qui nous enflamme. Petite pâtisserie. Pleine de délicatesse, les goûts, les couleurs, une vraie tendresse. Maman et moi, on rit et on s'amuse, une journée douce qu'on ne refuse.
As I mentioned earlier in the video, Lola has dementia, so I'm always working on adding ingredients that are good for her brain. So I've been coming up with different spreads that are full of healthy fat, and I spread them on a cracker and serve them with a nice fatty fish, like a sardine or anchovy. So today I'm making a toasted sesame spread. I toast up some sesame seeds. I do this over medium heat, stirring constantly just for a couple of minutes until it becomes nice and brown. And then I add them to a food processor, along with olive oil, toasted sesame oil, water, chickpeas, Chinese 5-spice, and half a package of roasted seaweed. I also add juice from half a lemon, a little bit of mirin, and a little bit of rice vinegar. Then I blend it all up until it's nice and smooth. This actually takes about a minute or two in the food processor to become smooth enough, so be patient. Today we're going with sardines. I was able to find a can of sardines that has no salt added. It still has sodium in them, so I just make sure I don't serve her too many in one sitting. I found Lola these crackers that are nice and thin that she really likes. There is still sodium on them, but she only eats about 6 per serving, so it's doable. Then I spread on the toasted sesame spread. Add a little bit of sardines. I use about 1/4 of the can for every 6 crackers. And then I finish hers off with a little bit of lemon juice. The rest of the family really liked this treat as well, but I enhanced ours with a little bit of sliced scallions, some sriracha, and a sprinkle of smoked sea salt.